Welcome to QQT, I'm Daniel Tai. Today's verse, Hebrews 8:12, "For I will be merciful toward their iniquities, and I will remember their sins no more." When looking at a verse like this, it's often wise to consider the context, or the set of verses that are near a verse in question. In this case, the context is talking about the superiority of the new covenant against the old covenant. But what are the old and new covenants? Well, effectively, the old covenant was how God related to his people before Christ came, and the new covenant is how he relates to his people afterwards. Under the old covenant, God related to his people on the basis of law and sacrifice. Let me give you an example. Let's suppose that I unintentionally sinned. Under the old covenant, one of the laws says that I need to sacrifice a female goat. That way, my sin can be atoned for. Under the new covenant, there is no need for animal sacrifices. Rather, Christ's sacrifice on the cross is sufficient for all time and for all of my sins. But either way, old or new covenant, the righteous shall live by faith. And even under the old covenant, the greatest law had nothing to do with sacrificing an animal, and everything to do with loving God. So what's going on? Well, there's nothing intrinsically special about killing an animal. After all, before, it's alive, and afterwards, it's not very alive. But there is everything special about a God who forgives sins, and without the intermediary of the sacrificial system of sacrificing animals, it becomes a lot more clear that that is the case. But there's something else that's special about the New Covenant, and now we turn back into Hebrews 8. The author of Hebrews talks about how God will write his law on our hearts, that he will basically act from inside of us so that we are better able to obey him. The author of Hebrews then culminates this section with, "And I will forgive their iniquities, and I will remember their sins no more." So what does that mean? Well, one thing it doesn't mean is anything to do with earning, and I should not have used the word earn in either Old Covenant or New Covenant. That's because A, it's nerve-wracking. After all, if I have to earn God's favor, then I must be constantly worrying about, is this good deed good enough to compensate for that other thing I did 5 years ago? What about the sins I don't even remember? I know I better do more good things, only I'm not exactly sure if my motivations are right, and so can I even do good things at all? That's going to be nerve-wracking. Unfortunately, I don't have to do that. Moreover, I can't earn God's forgiveness, which is why it is so critical that he says he will forgive my iniquities, as opposed to something I did to earn it. And while this should be a great comfort, I have to admit I struggle with fear. And because of that, I need to talk to myself at the same time as I talk to you when I say we all should look at this verse, remember God's steadfast love and mercy, and be comforted in that. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time I have. I'm Daniel Tai for QQT, and may God bless.